We are holding a thought and a prayer for a guy who is stranded in Hoover, Alabama. We are joined by the college's writer for the Dallas Morning News. It is the real Ben Baby.
Do we know that for sure?
Ben, how is Hoover, Alabama?
It pales in comparison to Texas, so I am ready to get on the plane and get back there.
What is the scene like at SEC Media Days? We see it on SEC Network. We see it all over the place. It looks like a zoo. Does it feel like a zoo?
Not really. I kind of was mentally prepared for how crazy it's going to be. I did Big 12 Media Days. Me and Adam Bodecker, back when we were at the Red Chronicle, did Media Days in 2014 at Big 12, and it was kind of tame. It wasn't like this whole mess here. We have all these cameras, all these people here, and they credential a whole lot of folks for this. But I mentally prepared for it, so it wasn't as crazy as I thought, honestly. As long as you just stay out of the lobby with all the fans, then you're good. So that's really it. I mean, there are a lot of cameras here, but you kind of get used to it after a little while, and you just kind of get by day 2 or day 3, you kind of get used to it, and you know how to operate and go around the room.
So yesterday was Texas A&M's turn, or 2 days ago rather, was Texas A&M's
2 days ago.
Texas A&M's turn at the podium. We got to hear from Myles Garrett. We got to hear from Trevor Knight. We got to hear from Kevin Sumlin. I want to start with Kevin Sumlin. I want to get your overall impressions of what Coach Sumlin had to say. Obviously, a big year he's heading into for 2016, putting the Aggies back on the right track. Overall, what were your impressions of what Coach Sumlin had to say?
I think he kind of talked about things that everyone kind of thought he would. I mean, these things are pretty mundane for the most part. I think the only really interesting, pressers that we had were Brett Bielema and Les Miles. Les just did some cop. He's in some movie, and he apparently plays a cop, and he went through the line and was doing that whole bit in the internet room. So that was kind of fun. But someone isn't going to give you that kind of stuff. But I mean, he did talk some scheme stuff more so than other guys I think talked about, and he did bring up the linebacker core, how that's going to be a big part of the A&M defense. If A&M's linebackers, don't play up to the level of the defensive line and the defensive backs, two units on that defense that are really good, then the defense might be in trouble. And A&M's offensive line's another big question mark going into the season. Traditionally it's been a source of strength for the Aggies, and this year, I think there are a lot of unprovens and a little inexperience on that line, so. I think that'll be one thing, to keep an eye on as well, because, Trevor Knight, you may get Trevor Knight in there and he may be an upgraded quarterback, but if he doesn't have time to throw the ball, it doesn't really matter who you have.
You mentioned Trevor Knight. He was on hand as well. This is his third media days. And
roughly 36 years old.
Yes, 155 years old is Trevor Knight. He does. He looks older than I do.
But that's not saying much.
That's not saying much because
but it's true.
It's not saying a whole lot,
because I look like an infant. But Trevor Knight, a lot of pressure on him to kind of be the next guy and kind of right this A&M offensive ship. Did you get the feeling that he is feeling the pressure? Did you get the feeling that he understands that there's a lot expected of him?
I think he gets that from the get-go. I think it didn't seem like he was like, okay, I gotta really pick this program up, put it on my back or whatever. I think he knows he wants to play well for himself, and and we'll end up writing about this in Sunday's paper. We'll talk a little bit about Trevor Knight, and he's done this before. This isn't his first rodeo, for lack of a better cliche. He's done this at Oklahoma. He's got his job replaced. He was a starter. He's beaten Bama. Then he's Baker Mayfield to have fun on the bench. So now Trevor Knight's going to be back at A&M, and he kind of knows what it takes to win a successful program. It's not like Oklahoma is some joke. And so, there was a lot of pressure on him there. And, here it's just, I think it's the same kind of pressure. And, I think he's got a good grasp of what football is and what it's about. And so I think he keeps a pretty level head when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because he talks really well about the game and his experiences. So, it wasn't like Chad Kelly today talking about, I want to be the best. I want to do this. I want to do that. I think, Trevor Knight has those same aspirations. But I think he kind of has a better grasp on how to go about it. And that's what you get when you've got a guy who's a graduate and, he's been playing for a while.
We're talking with Ben Baby of the Dallas Morning News here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. And then, of course, there's another relatively sizable human being on hand and for the Aggies in Hoover, Alabama. It was Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a freak. He's almost certainly going to be a top 5 NFL pick in 2017. Arguably the best defensive player in the conference, and that's saying something. For Myles Garrett, was it kind of business as usual for him dealing with the media, or did you get the feeling, or did he have really anything super interesting to say?
Oh, I think, I think he had a couple things that were pretty interesting. Myles Garrett was fantastic. If there's one thing I'm really looking forward to this year, being my first year on the beat at A&M, is getting to deal with Myles Garrett and this presumably last season, barring, something unforeseen happening. He's terrific. His media session was great. He was talking about dinosaurs and books and, what he would use what was his pen name would be, if he was a published author. I mean, half the questions weren't even about football. It was like, oh, this guy's actually really good to talk to and he's interesting. And rarely do you get that, from athletes these days. And, it was fun to talk to him. I could just sit there and talk to him forever about stuff other than football because, talking about football is generally less interesting than the things that Myles Garrett wants to talk about. And I'm sure, I felt dumb sitting there talking to him. He was talking about the differences between bipeds and quadrupeds, dinosaurs. And I had to look up what a biped and a quadruped,
loves dinosaurs.
The difference. Yeah, he's a real life Ross Geller, but can attack quarterbacks. So it was a lot of fun. Like he's a blast, and he was listed at 6'5", and now it makes me question every high school player I ever saw listed at 6'5". So he's a massive individual, and I do not envy the offensive tackles that will have to be defending him on the line this year in the SEC.
Outside of A&M, let's take a look back because you've been at SEC Media Days for the entirety of it. Whose comments or whose kind of speaking to the media has really stood out to you?
Speaking to the media, like in what sense? What do you mean?
So, any of the coaches that had anything particularly interesting to say? Obviously, we saw Dan Mullen putting his big foot in his big mouth a couple of days ago. Is there anybody from whose press conferences that you're particularly going to remember what they said?
I think Les Miles today had a good. He talked a lot about the shooting in Baton Rouge. Talked a lot about what it would take to kind of just the stuff he talked about to his team afterwards, which was kind of poignant, because he's such a big, figure in that town. If there's somebody there who is, saying, hey, we got to stop this, we got to curb the violence here, and the whatever prejudices may exist, we can't have that in our town, in our community. That was really interesting of him to say. Derek Mason at Vanderbilt was actually really awesome to hear talk. He was a big favorite among the media, and Brett Bielema, of course, stole the show. Mm-hmm. When he keeps saying things are sexy all the time, and he calls one of his players beautiful. That's gonna generate headlines. So it's those guys are fun to talk to. But yeah, for the most part, those outside of those three, I really don't know if I'm gonna go back and say, oh wow, those are really great pressers. These things, coaches are generally designed to not say anything of value at these things. I think now in general, coaches are designed to not say anything of value. Unless you really force them to. And when you get to a big media event like this, and specifically in that big, massive room, it's very hard to get those guys to say much of anything. But like when you get Les Miles in a smaller room or Nick Saban in a smaller room, you're going to get more substance out of them. Spring meetings in Destin, where I was at earlier this year, you get great stuff out of them. 2 minutes out of that, you'll get better content and like conversation than you will out of 20 minutes here at Media Days. So, that's just the way it goes. These things are really designed for the TV networks to give people enough to talk about until fall camp starts. But, Bielema, I'd say Bielema, Myles, and then Derek Mason were the three guys that I, in that order that I kind of remember out of Media Days.
All right. And finally, Ben, the most important question. What is the best or worst question that you've heard asked this week?
Oh man, there are so many bad questions. It was awful. I just shook my head at a lot of these things. I think it was a really nice guy from your neck of the woods, the Missouri radio guy, one of the Missouri radio guys. Oh. But I can't even remember who he asked the question. I can't remember who the question was to, but he was just like, "Coach, you don't look nervous." And I was like, what? That was just like, what kind of question? What just came out of your mouth there, sir?
That was the question? The question was, you don't look nervous?
I think so, and then I think he asked something possibly towards the end, but it started out that way, and we all just like there was a bunch of chuckles, like, yeah, okay.
Great.
So I don't know.
Great
I'm not one
point.
to say anything. Nick Saban couldn't understand what I said, and Les Miles kind of was he was like, "What did you ask me?" And then we had to go through that. And then he was like, "Did I answer your question okay?" And I was like, "Eh."
Oh,
so
no.
he did an okay job. So
Ben,
it happens, man.
We're all pulling for you, buddy. He's Ben Baby, the real Ben Baby, from the Dallas.
And I need all the help I can get, and I need to get my hands on one of y'all's DCTF mags. I still don't have one.
Well,
that's weird.
You know where our office is.
That's true.
Hey, I'm gonna have to come by and say hello. It's been far too long.
Right.
Yeah, and we'll get hashtag.
It'll be a congratulations present for the new gift.
Yeah,
or the new gig. I mean.
Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what we'll do. Ben Baby on Twitter at Ben_Baby. Follow him there. Ben, appreciate your time and safe travels back to the Lone Star State.
Hey, always a pleasure, fellas.